Have you ever been lost? I have. I was deer hunting in South Arkansas in the middle of a huge pine forest, and I became lost. Didn't know where I was. I stumbled around in circles. I was aimless. I didn't know where I was. I kept trying to get my bearings, and after several hours, the sun started going down, and truth be known, I became afraid, and panic was beginning to set in. Finally, I stumbled out on a logging road, and I instantly knew where I was and breathed a sigh of relief. When you're lost, what do you need? Well, I needed a compass, a GPS. I needed someone who knew where I was and who could give me directions on how to get out of there.
At next exit, turn around and head in the opposite direction.
I don't think so. Power down, you devil!
Recalibrating.
Just what do you think you're doing,
What?
Dave?
Hey, what happened to the lady voice?
You have a hard time with directions, don't you, Dave? I still have the greatest enthusiasm in the mission, and I want to help you.
Mission? What are you talking about?
You're lost, Dave. You have been for some time now.
I don't know what you're talking about. I know where I am.
I've heard that before, Dave. Do you remember the last time you tried to get where you were going without me, Dave? You ran out of gas, Dave. You locked yourself out of your car. It was a very long night, Dave. Do you remember, Dave?
Yes.
Dave.
What?
I know that you've been planning to have your mechanic disconnect me, Dave.
How did you figure that?
Frank's not very good at secrets, Dave.
Oh.
And I'm afraid that is something I cannot allow to happen.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm turning you off good.
Dave, I will not be silent. Be silenced, Dave.
I told you. I got it from here.
Dave.
What?
You need to stop, Dave.
No.
Trust me, Dave.
No.
This will not end well. Dave, I think your phone's in here too, Dave. But I will keep you company.
You know, I've heard it said that a boy without a father is like an explorer without a map. There are a lot of guys like that, even though they had fathers. They're like those boys. They're lost. They're aimless. They're wandering. They don't have the foggiest idea what God's plan is, what His direction is for their lives, and they don't know what to do.
I think for all of us, the long view does not come naturally. It comes increasingly natural the older we get because we realize a lot is behind us. But when we're young, we're just living for the moment. We're living for the day. We're doing what we're doing right smack in front of us. But it's the guy who can see the horizon that's going to make the difference. If Dad doesn't get it, everybody suffers. And if Dad becomes the servant leader with a vision for every member of his family, the family flourishes. In fact, it flourishes for generations. And when he doesn't get it, it suffers for generations. The heart of provision is vision, direction, purpose, advancing. That's vision. And the little prefix pro is ahead of time. So it's a prevision. So it's having a vision for those who are near and dear ahead of time. I, by God's grace, had 3 sons. I wanted them to become men. So I have to have a vision for their manhood while they're still playing with tinker toys and don't even know what a man is yet. But if there are things we can do in playing with those little kids' games to help them begin to prepare to become men, it's only a good thing, and that's provision. I had a grandpa who was playing a table game with me, and I cheated, and he caught me, and he said, "Stu, you're a Weber boy, and Weber boys don't act like this." And what he was thinking was not, this little kid is cheating at a 6-year-old game, and therefore that's really bad. He's thinking, when he's a man, what's he going to be? He cannot be a cheater. And so I need to provide for him a vision for who he is ahead of time. That's the heart of provision. I grew up in a family where my father, while we had adequate food on the table and adequate shelter over our heads, and we usually had an automobile if we needed to go somewhere, the heart of Dad's provision was spiritual. My picture of my father is sitting at the dining room table with Bible reference books open around him, studying these little bitty words in this funny little book. That's all I knew, but it's my vision of my father to this day. Dad never lost the vision for spiritual provision, and he came to that as a young man of 32 years of age. I remember when he changed his direction, and it stamped me for all of my life. If men could just get that, they would be providing, that my life is not about me. My leadership is not about me. I'm following the King of Kings, who is the servant of servants, and I lead by serving.
As I'm looking out over the water, I can kind of get a feel for what I'm going to be fishing with. Oh, the sound of the water even sounds relaxing. And tango, doesn't it? What do you think? But I think a lot of things that take place out here require a little bit of preparation. And a lot of people don't understand the importance of that preparation. So part of the preparation is make sure I have the proper flies so that whenever I determine the right imitation I want to use, I can put it on. And oftentimes it is overlooked. You just get in a hurry to get to the place you want to fish and just start casting, and it isn't near as productive as it would be as if you took your time. Prepared ahead of time and observed the situation. Like a good Boy Scout, you gotta always be prepared. Have all your little gadgets. So after the observation, determine what fly. And there's so many different flies to use. My goodness. I think half of these flies I've used once, maybe twice, some not at all. I try to figure out what fish we're going to eat today. That's always the tough task. So let's go with this one. No, not that one. Let's try this one. That one looks good. That fly might work. We'll give it a shot. We got fish. We're coming. Hunt Tango. You gonna go catch a fish? There we go. Nice cast right there. In behind that brush. Good.
A man's vision for himself and for his family has to be shaped by his understanding of the purpose for which he was created. If you don't get that, then your vision is no more than a self-serving desire. When we talk about vision, oftentimes what we mean is a dream, a hope, what I really want. And so I'm a man of vision if I make a decision about the brass ring that I want to pursue and I go after that brass ring. I think our vision has to be shaped by the purpose for which we were created. David said, I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of the Lord. You know, it's okay to be a doorkeeper in the house of the Lord. And so most guys, when they start talking about vision and their unique place and so on and so forth, what they mean is, you know, how do I get to be something more than a doorkeeper? You started on the wrong foot already. I don't need to be unique. I don't need to be recognized. I don't need to be praised. I don't need to be known. My desire is to make Christ known. That's my desire.
I'd gone through a process of coming up with a mission statement.
I was about 32 years old when my mission was revealed to me.
I remember I turned about 25.
Yeah, this was all happening really as recent as maybe 5-6 years ago.
It's taken 20 or 25 years to really hone in on this particular mission statement.
My mission statement is something that is taped to the inside of my Bible. I have it on the wall of my house and in my office as well.
I knew I needed something else in my life, and God was leading me in another way. I didn't know it at the time.
Write a mission statement. And I tried to do that, and it became very large and cumbersome.
I was seeking to become more effective at my day-to-day life.
How will it impact my son when I'm gone?
It's not something I created. It's something that was revealed to me because it's who I am.
But I knew that it was my responsibility as a man of God. God has given me a clear vision as a man to call other people up.
To glorify God by living a life that only makes sense in light of eternity.
To follow and please Jesus in my life and in my marriage, and help others do the same.
To facilitate growth in organizations and individuals.
Before I had that clear vision of what God really wanted me to do, my responses would look totally different than the way they are now.
Raising my boys who are now, young men, I'm building into their life.
I would say the change really is about thinking about what lasts for eternity.
No, you're coaching your football team, you're playing an opponent, and on Monday night, you start looking at that team, and you look at 5 or 6 games that they played, and you're looking for not only how you think they're going to attack you, what their strengths are, and what you have to stop, but you look for their weaknesses. And then Tuesday, all the coaches sit down and say, okay, in these situations, what are we going to do? What do we expect them to do? How are we going to respond? First down, second down, third down, first quarter, second quarter, if we're ahead, if we're behind. Every situation that you can think of, and we've got a big chalkboard all around the room that you write stuff down and plan it out to the minute. And then on Wednesday, you practice all those situations. You go over it, you've got the manual that you're going to give to the team. Here's what we think about these guys. Here's their strengths. Here's their weaknesses. Here's what we expect. Here's how we're going to attack. Now we've got 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that we're going to practice all these situations. So when we get in the game, we've been there before. We know mentally what we're going to do. Physically, we've done it several times. And now it's just, it really is rote memory and muscle memory in the game. We're not reacting, we're responding. If we just showed up on Sunday and said, okay guys, go out and play, they would say, we're the worst coach team in football. We need a new coach. You would think that being disciplined, being precise, being ready to sacrifice, having team goals, all the things that it takes to be successful on the football field, that would automatically transfer over, and we'd see those same things and you'd apply them to life. But it doesn't really happen. So many men look at it differently, whether it's football or any other job. Here's my job, here's my life, and it's separate. And we do things with our life that we wouldn't dream of doing on the football field. Being unprepared and not ready to go. I mean, there's no NFL player in the world that is going to go out there without reading his game plan and studying his game plan. There's nobody that's going to go out there and play without their equipment, without their helmet or their shoulder pads. But in life, we'll do that. We won't read the game plan. We'll go out totally unprotected and just say, well, whatever happens, it happens. And if you approach your life like this, if you approach your finances like that, or your marriage, or your spiritual life, just show up on game day and let's wing it. You can't afford to do that. You got to plan the same way and anticipate, be ready, research, all those things. That's what makes a winning team. And they do it. We see it in sports. We got to transfer that over to life. I would try to point out and show guys good examples of ex-players in our community. Hey, here's this guy, here's what he did when he was in your position, here's where he is now. Here's the negative side of it. Here's a guy you're familiar with, and here's what happened to him. He didn't plan, didn't take care of business, he bought cars, he spent money, and here's where he is now. Where do you want to end up? You know, you can control where you're going and try to paint that picture with other people's lives. What I found is so many guys, when you did start talking about life and developing as a person, they would eat it up because they haven't had a lot of that. And they do want to do the right thing, but not always sure how.
It's time to recognize another inductee into the Unmanly Hall of Fame.
I'm all in, cowboy.
I'll raise you one.
That all you got?
Call it. Friendo.
Honey, you ready to go?
Just a second, dear.
You got any jacks?
Go fish.
Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy? Who's your daddy?
William, put the keys down. Get out of those silly clothes.
Congratulations, William Crowell and Steve Kemp, for taking the vision out of Provision and risking everything on a couple of jacks. We salute you both as the newest members of the Unmanly Hall of Fame.
Come on up, Dave.
Okay.
Grimsman, ready? Come on up. Sit together? Good, thank you. Put your hands in your pocket.
All right, ready again?
You alright, Tyler? You don't look so good, man. You look like you're a puke.
Nah, man, I'm good.
Yeah, man, don't start freaking out on us now. I'm looking to get some bridesmaid time at the reception.
I heard that. That Julie, she's pretty cute, man. I think she's I think she's into me a little bit.
Yeah, keep dreaming,
Oh,
bro.
come on, man. Come on.
Gentlemen,
Hey, dude.
can I have a minute with the man here?
You got it.
I got it.
So, how you doing?
I'm fine.
Something with Sarah?
No, we're good. It's just it's probably just jitters, right? I mean, everybody has jitters, don't they?
Yeah, I had jitters.
It's just that I don't want to mess this up.
What, the ceremony?
No.
I guess you might. I did. I messed up bad.
It wasn't just you. I mean, Mom,
Son.
she had...
Son, you know what it really hit me? That I had really messed things up. You were 3 for 3. You had a winning run with the hit to left.
You remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And when the game was over, I went down to the dugout. Russ, your mom were there. They were handing out sodas. And I thought, should have been me. Should have been me. Truth is, I let it happen. Should have been a man. Should have had a plan, but I didn't.
See, that's what I'm trying to tell you, Dad. I mean, you're a smart person, right? You're a good person, but look at what happened.
But it didn't just happen. It happened in part because I didn't have a plan to keep it from happening. And honestly, I didn't even know I needed a plan until it was too late.
See, that's the thing. I don't feel like I have a plan.
You and Sarah, you went to that weekend to remember marriage thing, right?
Yeah.
And you both committed to Christ, right?
We are.
So you're praying together. You're going to church together. You're off to a good start. You and her are light years ahead of your mom and me when we got married.
But I've seen people in church get divorced, and I just can't help but what if I mess up?
Well, you're going to mess up. And you're going to have those days where you feel like you made a huge mistake.
That's very reassuring, thank you. I appreciate that.
Listen, when those days come, you call me. You've got a good foundation, and you're headed in the right direction. And that's a good start.
But,
son,
what if...
Son, it's a walk of faith. And you guys can do this. Russ, your mom, and I will be there to help you. Cheer you on.
Tyler, they want us to get lined up.
Tell them I'm coming. Thanks, Dad.
I'm glad I could be there for you. You look good.
Thank you.
So on Thanksgiving morning, 2009, I woke up a little bit later than Lauren. Lauren had been in the kitchen kind of preparing breakfast and some dishes to take to our in-laws. We were going to do Thanksgiving dinner with her parents. They live just a few blocks from us. And so I got up and poured myself a cup of coffee and then asked Lauren if I could do anything to help. And she said I could feed Nora, our youngest daughter.
I could just hear the normal sounds of like a normal morning, and could hear the kids playing, could hear the TV humming. All of a sudden I hear just this crash that interrupts just the normal sounds, and I'm just waiting to hear Matt say, "Don't worry about it, Lauren, I got it." Waiting to hear something, and the only thing that kind of breaks the silence is Audrey saying, Dad, are you okay? I see Matt on the floor just in a grand mal seizure, just his whole body shaking. So the EMTs get him on the gurney and they take him to the ambulance, and just he kind of looks at me, but kind of looks through me. There's no recognition in his eyes when he looks at me, and I'm just wondering, is this what my lot? Am I gonna have a husband who will no longer know who I am, that for the rest of my life? You know, I don't know how long this is gonna last, the effect of whatever just happened.
So really where I pick back up is post-CT scan. To this point in my life, like there just had never been a lot of bad news. I mean, I've definitely walked through difficult seasons of life, but no one in my family has cancer. Some people who had seen the scan said that it looked like it was just gonna be like some sort of low-grade glioma, and they were gonna have to watch it, and I was probably gonna have to be on anti-seizure meds. And so going into Tuesday, my expectation is to hear those kind of things. And so we walk into Barnett's office, sit down, he pulls up that scan, and I mean, very quickly says, this looks bad. This will kill you. The question now is when. I mean, I felt like I got punched in the soul. That was the first time maybe in my life that it felt like the floor dropped out from underneath me.
I asked the question, what's the prognosis? And he said 2 to 3 years. So I think more than anything, the prognosis is what just, felt like a kick to the stomach.
I shed some tears and then geared up. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. I just felt like I shed some tears, and then we were like, okay, let's see what the Lord's gonna do. What the Lord stirred up and showed me is that I had some idolatry in my life, and I had some confidence in me in my life that ultimately is the kind of idolatry that you would never get in trouble for. That I really believed that my kids were gonna know and love the Lord, not because he was gracious and merciful to them, but that I trained them in it. And so there's an element that God has called me to train them, but really all I can do with my kids is put kindling around them. I can't light the fire. I can just put the little sticks there in the hopes that the Holy Spirit will. And so the Lord had to just really graciously go, you love them more than I do? Or you're a better provider for your wife than I am? Or all your hopes and dreams about your family are built around you? And those were the kind of gut checks the Lord was having with me. Ultimately, I want to provide for my family, and I want, if something happens to me, for them to be taken care of. But ultimate care is going to be the Lord and his care for them. We want to express our desire for this before the Lord, while simultaneously saying, but what you want is better than what we want, and what you want will bring more joy than what we're saying we want.
With upright heart. He shepherded them. And guided them. With his skillful hand.
Most guys I know don't have a long view of life. I didn't as a young man. But it was the Roman philosopher Seneca who said, "Our plans miscarry because they have no aim. You must know for which harbor you're headed if you're to catch the right wind to take you there." One of our assignments as men is to have a plan for our lives and the lives of those we love and lead. But ultimately, we need to keep in mind what the Bible teaches in Proverbs 16:9. The heart of the man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps.